Hello students of class 11. We have seen that how Macbeth and Banquo met the witches, and how one of the predictions of the witches came true, and that raised hope in Macbeth's heart. And Lady Macbeth became determined that the only way to fulfill the flattering prophecies was to kill Duncan. And an opportunity came by when Macbeth visited the castle, Macbeth's castle, that is Inverness, along with his two sons Malcolm and Donalbain, and different thanes and attendants. And he was very charmed by the peaceful and serene environment of that palace, and more so with the way he was treated by Lady Macbeth, the hostess, who had actually concealed, that is, who could hide her actual intention, her evil purpose, through her smiles and etiquettes, that is, her manners. Tired of his long journey, the king went early to bed. It was the middle of the night now. Over half of the world's nature seemed dead, and wicked dreams abused sleeping men's minds, and none but the wolf or the murderer is out for heart. So the king was very tired after a long journey, so he went to bed early. And why does it say now half of the world's nature seemed dead? Dead in the sense here that's night and everybody is asleep. And wicked dreams means murder, indicating at the murder. Abuse sleeping men's mind, and none but the wolf or the murderer is out on hunt. Abuse sleeping men's mind. That is, sleep is something which, it's a kind of nourishment. When you sleep, you regain energy to work. So that is such a restful thing. So to think of murdering a sleeping person is actually, you are murdering the very act of sleeping itself. So sleep is a very peaceful means when a person is sleeping, that is a very peaceful thing to do. This was the time when Lady Macbeth woke up to plot the murder of the king. She would have undertaken a deed, so she would not have undertaken a deed so abhorrent to her sex, and she was well aware of her husband's nature, that was too full of the milk of human kindness to execute a contrived murder. So Lady Macbeth decided that she herself would go and kill the king. Why? Because she knew that Macbeth didn't have a heart to kill the king, because he was it is very unbecoming of a lady to take a dagger and kill somebody. Okay, we associate a woman with gentleness. Okay, a woman as a mother who gives birth to a child. So a woman taking away somebody else's life is something we will never. Abhorrent is something very hateful, okay, to think about. So but since she was aware of the kind of person Macbeth was, so she decided to do it herself. She knew that her husband was ambitious, but he was not prepared for the height of crime which commonly accompanies inordinate ambition. Inordinate means excessive ambition. So Lady Macbeth knew that Macbeth was very ambitious, true, but Macbeth was never soil his hands with blood to reach his ambition in that way. She had won his consent about the murder, but she doubted his resolution, and she feared the natural tenderness of his disposition, his character, could defeat the purpose. That is, she had won his consent about the murder means she had taken, the permission of her husband, but means she had kind of convinced Macbeth about the murder, but she was doubtful about the actual execution of the act, because she was very well aware of the kind of person, the tenderness, the soft-heartedness of Macbeth's heart. So tenderness of his disposition, that is, Macbeth was not a person who would take a dagger and murder somebody. So that would, means if that was not done, then her ambition of becoming the Queen of Scotland would never be fulfilled. So armed with a dagger, she approached the king's chamber. So Lady Macbeth herself went with a dagger. She found Duncan in sound sleep, and as she viewed him earnestly, there was something in his face which resembled her own father. Thus, she had not the resolution to proceed further. So, when she went into the chamber, and when she was about to, put the dagger in Duncan's heart, when she looked at the face of Duncan, somehow, Duncan's face was similar to that of her own father. So she was not able to execute the murder. She returned to confer with her husband. Confer means consult. He thought there were strong reasons against the murder. Macbeth was not only the subject but also a close relative of Duncan. Besides, he had been a host to the king. So, his duty would be to protect the king from the threat of the murderess, not to bear the dagger himself. He also thought how just and benevolent a king was Duncan, how clear of offense of his subjects clear of offense to his subjects, how loving to his nobility, that their subjects were doubly bound to avenge his death. Moreover, by the favors of the king, Macbeth stood in high opinion of all sorts, and how could those honors be stained by the reputation of so foul a murder? So, Lady Macbeth came back to discuss with her husband, and then Macbeth cited reasons why he should not kill Duncan. First reason was Macbeth was the relative of Duncan. Next is he was the host, and Duncan was the guest. Macbeth was the host and Duncan was the guest. So it is the duty of a host to protect the guest, not to murder a guest. That's another thing. Another thing is that Duncan was a very kind and generous king, and he had always been very good towards his subjects. So if they found out that Macbeth had murdered Duncan, they would take revenge on him. And lastly was that people had held Macbeth in high opinion was because of Duncan, because a lot of his he owed Macbeth owed a lot of his fame because of Duncan. So that is the reason why he thought that he could not murder Duncan. So we stop here today. We will do the rest of it in the next class. Thank you.